Before there was DayZ Standalone, there was DayZ the Arma 2 mod. While the Standalone has achieved some success in its own right, it owes both its existence and its notoriety to the mod that came before it. Therefore, it is important to understand where DayZ came from and what made it so fun before we can talk about how the Standalone came into existence. Originally released as a simple batch of files on January 21st, 2012, DayZ the mod was created by Dean Hall as a personal project. It was his intent to create a harsh survival experience that he could pitch as a form of emotional and psychological training for soldiers, based on his own experience serving in the New Zealand Army. The story goes that Dean was critically injured while undergoing survival training in the jungles of Brunei with the Singapore Armed Forces, and that experience served as a direct inspiration for what would eventually become the DayZ mod. Let's take a look at the actual Wikipedia entry, because I know it goes into a little bit more depth than that. DayZ is praised for its level of emergent gameplay. BuzzFeed author Russell Brandom suggested that the mod had spawned the first photojournalist in an MMO role-playing game, creating articles that are not only about a game world but journalism told from within it. Brandom claimed that DayZ is a unique example of the MMO game genre, in giving players the freedom to harm or murder each other whilst adding no restrictions on how or why they may do it, quoting a player who described it as the story of people, which is why it has so many studies to begin with. The mod has been compared by Kotaku to The Walking Dead in its focus on interactions between the characters when faced with desperate situations. The players in DayZ are forced to deal with dilemmas in similar ways, as portrayed in both the comics and TV series for The Walking Dead. It has been proposed that DayZ provides some insight into people's motivations and behaviors when reacting to real crisis events, mirroring controlled experiments of a similar nature. However, some critics of this theory argue that participants do not react as they would in a real-world situation in which their life is truly threatened. Despite the game being biased towards self-interested hostile competition, many players enter the game with their own perceptions and priorities. These varied approaches and experiences within the game suggest that even in a system that should theoretically promote rational behavior, players act in unexpected ways. It has been proposed that this dispels the idea that chaos is an objective and defining feature of the system. Rather, it is what players make of it. Dean Hall created the concept while he was a soldier in the New Zealand Army as a suggestion for training soldiers, through exposures to situation-provoking emotion and relevant thought processes. He has stated he was inspired by experiences during jungle training. Hall has stated that what he endured then directly affected the development of DayZ and the creation of immersion through forcing the player to experience emotion and tension as part of gameplay. Hall believed that early rapid success of the mod was largely due to social media and consumers' desire for games that provided significant challenge. Hall has described the mod as something of an anti-game, as it broke what he felt were generally considered to be basic rules of game design, such as balance and not frustrating users. Originally requiring manual download and installation, the DayZ mod has been released for free on Steam. They're talking about the mod itself. On August 7, 2012, Dean Hall announced on the game development blog that the mod was going to be made into its own game, which we all know as. And of course, it acquired a large user base due to its unique gameplay. By August 2012, 3 months after release, the mod had registered more than 1 million unique users. IGN called it one of the most popular PC games in the world right now, 4 months after release. It was credited for over 300,000 sales of Arma 2 within 2 months of its release. The mod received widespread media acclaim. Edge called DayZ the mod of the year. Wired UK's Quentin Smith said it could be the most terrifying game of 2012. And Rock Paper Shotgun's Jim Rosignol called it the best game he had played so far in 2012. PC Gamers stated the game was one of the most important things to happen to PC gaming in that year and included it in their list of the top 5 scariest PC games of all time. Metro called it one of the best games to ever come out of PC modding and one of the single most impressive experiences available on the system. Eurogamer Stace Harmon suggested that the mod's designer, Dean Hall, might be responsible for some of the most emotive stories to come from playing a video game. On the wiki for the actual game itself, let's read a few snippets. One of the developmental focuses was making the world feel more realistic by increasing the number of enterable buildings. Hall stated that he hopes to implement bad ideas into the game in order to find what players enjoy rather than taking no risks at all. Following the troubled release of the similar game The War Z, Hall stated in a post on Reddit that the whole saga of the development made him seriously question if he wanted to be involved in the industry, and that he had considered leaving the DayZ standalone project. The game missed its original 2012 release date, with a development update in January 2013 saying that the game was not yet released because the developers had the chance to go from making a game that was just a mod to actually redeveloping the engine and making the game the way they all dreamed it could be. The release date was rescheduled and an internal closed test began on the game. In June 2013, Hong commented that the alpha release of the game would be a very bare bones alpha in which the development team wants a relatively low number of players providing bug reports and feedback. The secondary aim of the initial alpha release is to keep the project funded for further development. In October, Hall stated that the development team was on the final lap of the development and that the team was 100% focused on getting the alpha out the door. And then it just keeps talking about the development and new updates that they've released. I'm going to be honest though, I feel like they've really just put this on the back burner as the years have went on. They talk about how it's a money sink and how it really doesn't generate money, and that's true. But it feels like they never have any developers on hand to do anything or take care of bugs. Well, that's not necessarily the bug point, but like there's people that are fucking with official 95% of the time, which is why everybody suggests to go to modded servers. So what's the point? You know what I mean? There's no moderation. There's no official like staff, like nobody cares, you know what I mean? And it's not a good look, especially like it had such a promising start, especially coming from a mod in the first place. There's not many games that do that, and to do it successfully is even better. I feel like they're just dropping the ball on the rest of the game. They're just kind of writing it off as a net loss, because I think they've said even with the players that come every month, they're still not making enough money from it. I get it, you can't have microtransactions in your game. It's not monetizable enough. It's understandable, but hey, suck it up, man.